All right, everybody. Mommy issues. um, I've got them for sure. I'm sure a lot of people do. What does that mean? I was impacted deeply by my relationship with my mom when I was little and growing up. And that's the stuff I learned or took in or reacted to, the patterns I learned, all that crap is still with me. That's what it means. And sometimes I act like I'm dealing with my mom, even when I'm dealing with somebody else. I bring it into the current situation, and that can cause some issues. It can cause some problems, as you might imagine. Um, no, I mean, my mom, I love my mom. She raised me. So, it goes very, very deep because there wasn't another parent there. My dad wasn't there most of the time. So, my issues springing from my mommy relationship, they go pretty deep because there was no daddy relationship for the most part. It's a very skewed view. Tons of what I would consider, I guess, my strengths come from my mom. But then also intense, I guess you could call them weaknesses, challenges, in my functioning, psychological functioning, emotional functioning, came out of it too. The way that I operate in relationships, especially romantic relationships, has been problematic, I guess. And I think the main, maybe if you go to the root of it, if I'm real honest, I think probably in relationships, the thing that causes a real problem is kind of almost an identity issue, like a boundary issue, like who's who, a responsibility issue. So I feel somehow really on a basic level responsible for another person, and especially in romantic relationships, I have felt this way. But it also goes to other relationships. I've found out over the years it's not just in romantic relationships. It's also in the relationship with my child, and it's something that I consciously battle. Now I consciously battle it, but man, years ago, it was an unconscious battle that that my issues were probably winning that battle. I didn't really know so clearly, or it was hard to see in, for instance, my first serious relationship, that I was blurring boundaries, that I didn't really know what the hell the difference was between my partner's emotions or state and my own. They were so linked, so enmeshed, where I felt responsible for her state almost entirely, which is loony. And then I also, made her responsible for mine. And that leads to huge problems all over the place. And this goes back for sure to the blurred boundaries between me and my mom way long ago. I also, as a young person, felt responsible for my mom's state. Um, which I guess, maybe all kids do a little bit, but you could say it was encouraged. It was um, you know taught to a certain degree, I guess, or it just that's what came out. Um, and that ain't so good for a little person. It's way too much responsibility. Um, and kind of sticks. So I can also say, man, what a relief to not feel completely in charge of everybody. Um, but it's kind of like a thing that's in the background there. Um, Even in my current, very much long term relationship. Um, so yeah, the issues, they're years long, and then they take many forms. I mean, the blurring of boundaries between two people can just take so many forms. The drama that comes out of that like basic dysfunction. Not being able to, not knowing basically like who you are, because you don't know where you end and where the other person like begins. Huge, huge issues. If you're not taught that as a kid, if you're not introduced to that kind of like language, like, that's not my responsibility. You do you, or like, you do you now, or daddy's dealing with some things right now, like, just need a little space, like, has nothing to do with you. Um, However, that is taught and learned. If you don't have that, it causes huge problems. I mean, I've heard so much in my time, like hearing about dealing with personality disorder stuff, that this, boundary issues are there. In these, very up and down, very tumultuous relationships. And just speaking for myself, it is there. And hammering out like what your boundaries are is such hard work. It's like, oh man, like, what is my job here? Like, what is my role here in this relationship? What are the lines? Like, what is up to me? And what am I supposed to like get from the other person? And what am I supposed to do for the other person? What's okay to ask for? Oh my god, asking for stuff, that's another thing that I'm horrible at, because I didn't really learn how to do that. Um, what is how do we go together? And it's like with another person, it's a constant labor to figure that out together. And if you're kind of completely in the dark about where you end, then this becomes like a complete mess, a ball that then years down the road with a person becomes impossible to like tease apart and have like these healthy boundaries where you're not, codependent or too interconnected in a pushy pulley constantly or way. The distance that I knew, like how do you create distance in a relationship? The distance that I knew was the complete off kind. And that's still a thing. And I, yeah, I learned that long ago. From an expert. In any case, old issues keep coming up. Yes, they do. They're also like they're they're what everybody's up against. This is not news. This is not weird. I just wanted to get some of it out there, and that's it. So thank you.